It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
Off and running here, another edition of Musso at the Box, presented by Got Lit Light Installers. Fired up to have you along for the ride. LSU, they officially close out the pre-conference slate Tuesday evening with a matchup against the Xavier Musketeers. We'll go ahead and get your preview of that. Also kind of take a look at LSU as they head into SEC play. Are the Tigers where they want to be? Are they ready? We'll tackle that question as well. But first and foremost, they have to get through Xavier in order to put a wrap on the 18-game pre-conference slate. This is your last hurdle. This is your final tune-up. This is your last test. We'll talk about who might go on the mound for LSU, who might go on the mound for Xavier, some key players to watch on each teams, things you want to see, just you want cleaned up here finally before you get into the 30-game grind. That is the SEC schedule. So smash the like button if you have not already. Get subscribed on the YouTube channel if you have not already, and on your favorite podcast app, wherever you get your podcast. Just search Musso at the Box. Get subscribed. We're right there. You can follow me on social media as well. Those handles scrolling on the screen below. And we'll go ahead and dive right into it. So Tuesday night, LSU, Xavier at the Box. The Tigers come in 16-1 on the year. They are hitting .333 as a club, pitching to a team ERA of 3.02. Xavier comes in on the season 7-9. They are hitting .229 as a club and pitching to a team ERA of 7.08. When you look at Xavier as a whole, and this is going to be a very familiar Xavier team to many of us around here, Xavier came into the box a season ago for a 3-game set, lost the first one 4-0, masterful pitching performance by Luke Holman in that game. LSU wins game 2, 8-2. And then in game number 3, Xavier knocks off LSU 2-1 to close out that series. That really started LSU's game 3 woes that carried throughout the rest of the regular season. So this is a club, and for what it's worth, they return plenty off of that team that came in here and was very competitive over the course of that weekend with LSU, including winning a game. There are, for Xavier, 10 players who appeared in the lineup a season ago, 8 of them playing in at least of a third of Xavier's games back. So 10 players offensively back. And then out of the bullpen on the pitching staff for the Musketeers, 9 return from their bullpen, 5 who pitched at least 15 innings. This is a very veteran, very experienced team that is coming into Alex Box Stadium on Tuesday night. It's a very good program as a whole. Just 2 years ago, this team was in the NCAA tournament and took Vanderbilt to game 7 in the Nashville Regional. Speaking of Vanderbilt, that is where Xavier comes from. Xavier comes to Baton Rouge from Nashville, where they were swept in 3 games by the Commodores over the weekend. When you look at their schedule, you look at the 7-9, it's not ultimately where you want to be, but they've played a really tough schedule so far. They've played 2 against Oregon State. They lost both of those. They've played 2 against Indiana. They won both of those. They went out to the West Coast, played 4 against Stanford, and won 2 of those. They've played Tennessee. That did not go well. And then, as we said, they've been swept at Vanderbilt. Now they make their trip down here to Baton Rouge for the 1 game. Then they'll go over to Hammond and play Southeastern. So it's a club that when you look at them, on paper, nothing really jumps off the page. But they're veteran, have a lot of guys back. They know they can beat LSU because they did it a season ago. So they're going to be coming in on Tuesday night pretty fired up, knowing that they have a chance or believing that they have a chance. So I'm expecting this to be a fairly competitive ball game between the Tigers and the Musketeers on Tuesday as LSU continues to work on a few things as they head into SEC play this weekend versus Missouri. When you look at Xavier, a couple of players to watch on the offensive side. The top 2 that really stand out are Jake Lambden. He's the leading hitter on this team, .357, great on base percentage as well. And then Carter Hendrickson is the other 300 hitter in the lineup at 321, leads in home runs with 30, leads in RBI with 15. However, they do have 3 separate players with double-digit RBI. Connor Mish, a returner and an all Big East nominee preseason. Aiden Anderson with 10, a returner and an all Big East preseason, honoree so far. So again, veteran lineup going here. In the field for Xavier, it's been okay, 973. So they've fielded pretty decently. On the mound, that's where it's been a real struggle. And, well, why has it been a real struggle? And the easiest thing to tell you there is walks. Xavier has issued 78 walks in 134 2/3 innings so far on the season. That bodes very, very well for this LSU offense. LSU has been extremely patient on the season so far, drawing 117 walks so far. You look at guys like Derek Curiel, who's leading this team in the leadoff spot with 21 walks and an on-base percentage of about 590. You look at Jared Jones, the walk numbers there up. 4 different players for LSU in double digits walks drawn. And then you have Dickinson and Milam right there at 9 and 8 respectively, knocking on the door. That has been a very, very strong part of LSU's game. And when you compare that to what Xavier has done, that does not, that check mark when you're breaking down this matchup goes squarely on the side of LSU. They're not overpowering, only 111 Ks and 134. And also, they've given up a lot of hits as well, 290, the opponent batting average again. So, in terms of who might start this game on the mound for Xavier, I mean, Logan Schmidt has a start under his belt. Jack Nobe has a start under his belt. Nick Boyle has a start under his belt. I think one of those 3 guys is liable to be the option. If it's not one of those 3, you're looking at someone making their first start of the season for Xavier. For what it's worth, neither of them, or none of them, I should say, have been particularly effective. Nobe has only appeared 4 times with the 1 start. He's got an ERA of 7. Logan Schmidt, 6 appearances with the 1 start. He's got an ERA north of 10. And then Nick Boyle, who's just made the 1 appearance and the 1 start, has an ERA of 135. So, look, LSU, they've been rolling when it comes to scoring runs. They're averaging 10 runs per game so far this season. They should be able to score plenty against this Xavier club. Let's flip it over to LSU and who might go for the Tigers on the mound. So, through the first 2 games of the series against North Alabama, LSU used 4 pitchers. You got 6 from Cade Anderson, and you were in run rule territory, so you got 6 for Anderson and 1 for Maverick Rizzi. You got 7 from Anthony Ianson, and then 2 from Zach Cowan. When you fast forward it to Sunday, you used a few more, 5 to be exact, I believe, or was it 6? Shores, Binge, Newt, Williams, Dorsey. You used 5. So you're in a really good spot pitching-wise. Now, who gets the ball to start? It's one of 2 options, and they're both inconsequential. Because here's what I think that you see. Either Connor Ware or William Schmidt will start this game Tuesday for LSU, and neither of them will go deep. They will both pitch in this game Tuesday for LSU, and neither of them will go deep. This is where you look at those 2 guys and you say, okay, they have to be contributors. They are going to factor in on the weekend out of the bullpen. And that starts now with Mizzou coming in, with SEC play coming. So hypothetically, we'll say William Schmidt starts. Maybe he gets you 2 innings. You pull him. You go Connor Ware, maybe he gets you 2 innings and you piece it together from there. But you want to get those guys back out there because it's been a week. You want to get them work and have them ready to go come the weekend on, for Missouri and SEC play. Outside of that, and what I should say as well, there are things I want to see from both of them. I'd like to see Schmidt decrease the free passes. That goes for actually Connor Ware too, because he had a rough go of it with free passes on last Tuesday when he pitched against North Dakota State. But other than that, Schmidt was fantastic. So really just decrease the free passes. Where everything kind of needs to improve there. He needs a really, really strong bounce back outing when he gets on the mound Tuesday night, where he just looks like Connor Ware again, where it's a mix of 3-4 pitches, pounding the strike zone, all the things that we've seen from him in his previous 5 appearances, or excuse me, his previous 2 appearances leading into that final start, that last start a week ago. And if you have that, you're going to feel really good about him going forward into the weekend. The other interesting thing will be when they potentially use those guys, because neither of them have really been asked to go twice in a certain amount of days. But having this game on Tuesday rather than Wednesday allows you that buffer. And then again, you could turn to really anybody else you want. I want to see Maverick Rizzi, and I'm going to keep wanting to see Maverick Rizzi. He is tied for the team lead in appearances here this season. And the walks have been the big issue. The walks and hits, quite honestly. The stuff is plenty good enough. It just needs to be refined a little bit more. I look at a guy as well like Kason Evans. Kason Evans did not pitch this weekend. He hasn't pitched in a week since he closed out the game Tuesday night against North Dakota State. I think you see him get some time, getting one more prep, one more tune-up before turning him loose in SEC play. And then, you have plenty of other guys as well. Jacob Myers, DJ Primo, all those guys. Jaden Newt, who was phenomenal on Sunday. Maybe you don't turn him around that quick. Grant Fontenot, Cade Woods. I think you see plenty of those guys as well. But the 3 that I absolutely must see in this game are Schmidt, Ware, and Evans. And I feel like we will see those 3 at some point before you turn it over to a couple of other guys where it's like, all right, let's see if you can get back on track and contribute. Because LSU needs a couple more options out of the bullpen. You're hopeful that you'll get Gavin Guidry back for the games against Missouri this weekend. He's throwing, which is a good sign. So hopefully he is back, and that will add a much-needed boost. But remember, this is a guy in Gavin Guidry who hasn't pitched since preseason. There might be some growing pains. There might be some rust to shake off, and they'll bring him along slowly. But first and foremost, you have to get him back, and that will help. But ultimately, you love what you have in Kason Evans. I think you love what you have in Zach Cowan. They really love what they have in Connor Binge. You can add Schmidt and Ware to that crop. That gives you 5. You get Guidry back. That's 6. Ultimately, you're still looking for a couple guys on the weekend to really help you out. So you want that to be around 7, 8. This staff, maybe more if you can get it. So that's where the door is open still, and you'll see them use some different guys over the weekend on Missouri to see what they've got in SEC play. It's not settled. But with what you have in the rotation, if you can get the length you got out of Anderson and Ianson, and you're only using 4 or 5 pitchers in those first 2 games of a series, Sunday sets up pretty well for you with the depth that you have. So overall, I think you feel pretty darn good about LSU's pitching staff heading into the first week of SEC play and heading into their final tune-up here against Xavier in the pre-conference. Gotlit Light Installers, gotlitlights.com. Go there, get your quote. Work with Derek and his team for all your exterior landscape permanent lighting needs, as well as some temporary outdoor lighting for events, home or business. They do it all. This is not just for your house. If you're hosting a party at your place of business, maybe your company has a big work anniversary coming up, and you're throwing a big party to celebrate, maybe 50 years or something like that, and you need some temporary lighting for your private event. Gotlit Light, it's custom design, cut to fit, never any loose lights. They can help you with all of it. Gotlit Light installers, gotlitlights.com for your quote. Offensively, I would love to see John Pearson get a start at DH Tuesday night. I just would. Now, I get it. That means taking out Ethan Fry and or Josh Pearson, and Josh Pearson is super hot right now. But this is kind of the issue you run into right now if you're LSU, trying to figure out your best combo. But what you definitely have is no shortage of options. And the lineup has really come together quite nicely. We know Derek Curiel, Jared Jones, Stephen Milam, Danny Dickinson, Chris Stanfield. We know those guys are going to play every day. That's a third of your lineup, more than a third of your lineup. And you know Josh Pearson right now is going to be in there pretty close to every day. So that's the issue, right? I want John Pearson to get a start just so I can see a few more extended bats from him. And DH is the easiest spot to do that. And this is really your last chance to do that. But it's hard to justify not having Fry or Josh Pearson in the lineup. Josh Pearson's hitting 314. Ethan Fry is hitting 346 in limited ABs. Both have 2 home runs. Pearson just had the grand slam. So I want to see if there's a way they can do it, just because he's played in 11 games and in 8 at-bats, he's hitting 500 with a homer. He's done nothing but deliver. So if he gets a few more under his belt, what that might look like, or even if you just have an opportunity to get him into the game earlier where he can get a couple more ABs, that's something that I would like to see for LSU here in the final tune-up against Xavier. But the lineup has come together quite nicely. Like I said, you know Jones, Curiel, Milam, Dickinson, Stanfield are going to be in there every day. Jake Brown's probably going to be in there every day too. Hernandez is going to be your catcher and will be in there as close to every day as he can. I would expect him to definitely contribute plenty on the weekends. So you feel good. Tanner Reeves, probably your option at third base right now. I'd actually be shocked if he's not starting Tuesday night at third base, because he started all 3 games this past weekend at third base. So that's the direction. We wanted it to come together quicker this season, and so far it has. And that's why I look at this team and I say, yeah, they're ready. They're ready to go start conference play. Now, it's going to be growing pains. You're going to get a ratchet up in competition. So it might not be as dominant as it has been, but they're ready. And they've done some really good things. Now, we open up a whole new set of questions. Can they do it against the better competition? And I think there's a few reasons to look at it and say yes. The at-bats have just been so far and away better this season in the pre-conference than they were a year ago. And that carried over into conference play. They are much more comfortable at the plate. They are much more comfortable in the approach and the plan that Jay Johnson has put forth. They are scoring in so many different ways. You've seen the long ball come back now. They're much more aggressive on the base pass. You've seen beautifully executed small ball to move runners and score runs. That plays against anyone. They've shown you if it's a low-scoring game and they need to push one across late, they are not opposed to squeeze bunts. You've seen plenty sacrifice flies. LSU heading into this game against Xavier, still has not reached 100 strikeouts as an offense on the season. That again tells you where the at-bats are, yet they have walked 117 times. It's just very mature. Everyone looks very comfortable. After they got out of that for 10 innings against Omaha, they have gotten back in and never really looked back. Can they go do it against SEC competition? We're about to find out. But the evidence that they've put forth here, because of what they've done in so many different areas, says that, yes, they should be able to. Pitching is actually where I still have more of my questions. Because you are, as we talked about earlier, you're still looking for a few guys to really step up. And I think that's going to be what's more in question here this first weekend, where they're still tinkering. I think the lineup's pretty set. And we'll watch intently to see how Derek Curiel adjusts to SEC pitching. Danny Dickinson adjusts to SEC pitching. Luis Hernandez, how he adjusts, to SEC pitching. Tanner Reeves, how he adjusts to SEC pitching. So that's going to be huge to see these first few weeks. And it starts with Missouri. But overall, they're ready. They are ready to go tackle the challenge. They're as ready as they'll ever be here this season. Think LSU gets the win over Xavier on Tuesday. I don't think that really should come as a surprise to anybody. I like the offense in that ball game an awful lot. I think LSU is going to have some of their better arms available on the mound, which gives them another advantage over a weak hitting ball club top to bottom. And again, the walks that Xavier has issued, that does not bode well facing a team like LSU that is so comfortable in their plan at the plate and is so veteran, quite honestly, in the lineup. So, like LSU to get that win. I do think it should be a pretty competitive ball game. I think Xavier's got a lot of veteran players as well who aren't going to be overwhelmed by the moment, but they are riding a they are riding a 4-game losing streak coming into this one. So, give me the Tigers. Your final tune-up, your final test, your final preparations before conference play starts. We'll have a full recap for you right after the game goes final on Tuesday night. LSU Xavier from the box. That's going to wrap it up. We have you covered right here on Musso at the Box, presented by Gauntlet Light Installers.